Hi, welcome to the SWN Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Mark Jeffrey. Welcome to the Star Worldwide Network studios in beautiful downtown, midtown Scottsdale. So glad you could be with us today. You have a lot of choices with your time. You chose to spend it with us. It really means a lot. I've got some special guests today for the Spotlight Show. I have Justin and Nick Skogen. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
Really glad to have you here. Now, before we dive into your particular expertise, MHG Commercial, you both work for that. In 30 seconds each, why don't you tell me what you do?
Yeah, so MHG Commercial is a commercial team out under the umbrella of My Home Group, is a local real estate company, and I am one of the VPs and now partners of MHG Commercial.
I've been with MHG Commercial about 5 years now. I was brought on by my brother here. I'm one of the VPs of sales and leasing with them.
Excellent. So I'm sure there's a lot of competition between twins. Who closed the first deal?
I did close the
Yeah.
first deal. Yeah, it did help that I started early. He was in LA at the time, so I had a head start. But I was able to get the first deal and then kind of lured him this way and showed him, hey, this is pretty fun. You should come on back to Phoenix. So, yeah.
Now, both of you guys came up through MHG Commercial system. So is there some lessons you learned along the way from your brokers?
Yeah, I would say our brokerage, the head of our team, our head of our brokerage is Aaron Dutcher, and we kind of come under his wing and only operated with him. So that's kind of been our whole process, and we've learned from him directly.
Yeah, we've worked now with, we were fortunate when we got into the business. We worked with Aaron, who's a true Arizona cowboy, born and raised in Arizona, Snowflake, then to Gilbert, Arizona. And I had a deal that I had some help with, and I was like, hey, I called around and everyone said, you got to call Aaron. I called Aaron and, we did the one deal together and we just really hit it off. And from that process, I've really kind of learned my path in commercial real estate, which I think is fortunate because one of the things that happens in our space is we work with a lot of residential agents. And sometimes they bring in their structure and how they operate, which is great for what their business is. But commercial real estate is a very different type of process, very tag team, very collaborative. And so I'm fortunate that working with Aaron is we've learned to really be collaborative, work together, just your systems, how your emails and calendars and really running a business. And working with Aaron, we've been fortunate to do that, learn our ways and his ways, and now hopefully, continue to grow that and bring in other folks.
Yeah.
Well, what makes, so we'll start with you. I want to ask you, what makes working with you guys unique? Justin, what would you say?
I would say what makes us unique is more along the lines of our hands-on style, and also the fact that we've worked with residential agents so much. Most commercial brokerages don't really have that network. We do, and it's been a great network, is because we're bringing in clients that have great relationships with residential agents, and therefore when that conversation comes about who to work with on the commercial side, they're able to have a warm lead, so to say, and then those clients are able to trust us a little bit more as we continue to move forward with them and finding the right project.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick? What would you say working with you is unique?
Yeah, MHG Commercial is unique in that, I'm just going to add to that, we built our business really in the networking through residential folks, our networking through events and just Chamber of Commerce and other folks. So one of the things that is unique to us is we are willing to work with referrals in the residential space. It's very common for folks to have great clients that they bought and sold homes with over the years, so they're going to have that relationship. So we kind of take advantage of that in a good way and say, hey, we'll be your reliable commercial broker. You've got that relationship, and if you want to keep involved, we'll stay involved. We'll keep you in the loop, but we'll make sure that that project, that deal, that new business location, the startup, wherever it is we're able to help facilitate that in the right way. And the client knows they're getting a good deal because they're working with a trusted partner that they already know. Because that's like anything is going to be a challenge is, do you trust that person? And whether it's a mechanic or someone to help you buy a house, you want to trust who you're working with, and working with residential agents have built that relationship, and we truly value that, and we try to cultivate that and encourage folks to come work with us because we value what they've put together, so we continue to work with those folks.
Well, now we were talking before the show started about how crazy the commercial real estate market is in the Valley and Phoenix in particular right now. Now, from a broker's point of view, what do you think is driving that? Let's start with you, Justin.
There's just a lot of businesses seeing great opportunity in the market out here. We think California, we all know California is an expensive place. And then now that we're only 5 hours from ports, the expansion on the west side of the valley makes so much sense because it's easier to get your product all the way to Phoenix than it is to kind of store and work with that process in California. And then we also have the TSMC project up in northern Phoenix that's bringing billions of dollars in revenue to the community, and all the ancillary businesses that go with that need the structure. I mean, it's a booming area for sure.
What do you think, Nick? What makes this market unique, or what do you bring to the table that's unique about dealing with the craziness in the Phoenix commercial real estate market?
Yeah, I think Arizona is uniquely positioned. As anyone that's been here a while now knows, it's getting more expensive, but still relative to some other markets, we're still cheaper. California is expensive, and they've got a lot of logistic issues that make building and growth very difficult. And if you're an investor, landlord problems are definitely an issue in California. So we definitely get a fair share of investors who say, hey, you know what? I'm over that process, kind of dealing with some of the tenant right stuff, which we appreciate tenants, but there's some rules and laws that make it very difficult. So coming into Arizona, I do think we're a very more balanced and fair market for investors. And then we are more cost effective when it comes to development. And the process is just easier to handle. That you can see on the 303 on the West Valley, it's just booming with industrial products because it's just a fantastic space, because now you're substantially cheaper than being in California, but you're only a stone's throw away. You're only a couple hours. So it just makes sense to move some of that shipping over here. And just logistically, it's a fantastic location. And we're seeing just amazing growth.
Yeah, I would also add in the ability to work with the municipalities for your buildings when you're building products. Some of the folks that we have never built here before but built in other states are shocked to hear that when we say you might need 6 months for a rezone, they're pretty excited about that because it can be a lot harder in other places. So it actually can get a little bit quicker around here.
Well, I know both of you guys have extensive experience in basically all forms of commercial real estate, but is there something you specialize in, and why would that be?
Yeah, we're fortunate, again, being an MHG commercial, there's a little uniqueness that other companies have where they're very specific. They're tied to either doing landlord rep, tenant rep, buy, sell. There's a very different type of product that commercial brokers and the traditional houses are able to work with. We're in an independent space where pretty much any product that we would like to work in, we can. For me personally, I definitely enjoy working in an industrial space, the industrial and office purchases and leasing, but also investing. I'm big into numbers, which really got me into commercial real estate. I learned early on residential is a much more an emotional purchase. That's your forever home, your family home if you're selling it. And for me, I'm a very numbers and cents guy. So I got into this and really started paying attention to the analytics and really learned quickly. I'm like, oh yeah, commercial real estate's for me. The investment side, because at the end of the day, if it makes money, then it makes sense. So let's figure that out. So that's where I kind of thrive, is really building out performas, which is does this property make sense? The rough numbers, and let's try to figure out a deal.
What about you, Justin? Is there something you specialize in or you especially enjoy?
I would piggyback on what my brother said. Is I do enjoy the industrial and office space areas. I do a lot of retail. Retail is something I've gotten a knack for. You got to fight for your tenants out there in this market, and I've gotten a knack for working with retail clients for sure and helping them get over the hump because it's a competitive market right now. So I definitely have appreciated the time to learn and how to work with tenants in the retail markets for sure. Yeah.
Nick, now if a new customer comes to you, can you walk me through how that first conversation is going to go, how it's structured?
Sure. So a lot of our clients do come from some sort of referral base. So we're not typically, we do our own fair share of bird dogging deals, calling, but a lot of our clients typically are what we call a little bit of a warm lead. So there's a bit of a structure like, hey, Billy here needs to open a new restaurant, so we're looking for a space for some sort of Asian restaurant. So we usually get some sort of introductory conversation started. We prefer setting up a meeting in person. That way we can really get to know a client. But either a phone call, it's usually going to get into kind of their experience, depending what type of business it is, how long they've been around, and kind of their goals. There's no reason to start searching for clients if we don't understand their goals, because every space, every landlord, every type of deal is going to be very unique. So really getting in front of the client first and foremost, asking a lot of questions, learning about kind of where that next steps goes, and that helps build the conversation, because the last thing that we want to do is start looking at projects that really don't pencil. No offense, like some folks aren't going to afford Kierland or right here in the Scottsdale market, so maybe we're going to have to look at some other projects, which is great, and we just want to learn more about it. So learning their background, kind of the financial history, is kind of a big thing for us, and then we can start that process and search.
Hey, Justin, what's your favorite part about dealing with a brand new client?
I would say one of my favorite things about working with a brand new client is especially folks that are new and starting up new businesses, is helping them do that. I mean, it's an exciting time when you get the opportunity to finally grow. I've had a client that, was a baker, making amazing wedding cakes out of his house for years. And, when we were able to finally get him that first retail home for himself, it was a huge opportunity for him because he could finally grow. I mean, you're only limited so much when you're able to do it in your home. And, those are kind of the big wins that I always like to see is, seeing a new business owner, get that first location. We always love working on a massive 50,000 square foot industrial building, but there's a lot of different gratification out of helping that person, with his first location in a business. It's a really exciting time.
Nick, I know you've worked on a lot of deals, but can you give me an example of a particularly complex deal that you dealt with and how you navigated that?
Yeah. In our job, it's always different. A lot of hurdles. Every deal's different, and has great challenges. I had one deal though that hit me about a year ago. It was about a year ago when we did this. We have a large office project we work on, and in those projects, you're going to have multiple tenants with different lease types and different schedules. And we ended up with a great opportunity with one of the big anchor tenants wanting to expand into the building, and a couple of tenants were moving out, but the timing was not quite perfect. So that required us to do some schmoozing and find some new locations for some tenants, and also a lot of different opinions and schedules to navigate, which became a little contentious towards the end, like anything does, because everybody wants to get the right deal. And at the same time, my business partner, Aaron Dutcher, happened to be out of town with his family because they had just planned their summer trip. So it was a lot on me while he was also out of town. So it became what we thought would be a quick 1 month, 2 month conversation turned into a big 6 month navigation where once the leases were signed, I think I had early happy hour.
What about you, Justin? Was there some complex deal that a challenge that you met and you're especially proud of?
Well, I would say with every transaction, there's always going to be unique challenges, which what does make it fun in the sense where no individual project's the same. I definitely had one this last year where it was my first time dealing with not just the sale and in a bankruptcy, but there was a divorce on the other side from the sales side. So in that transaction, we're dealing with a lot of attorneys, a lot of different people. Then you're going down to the courthouses, waiting for the judge to finally bang that gavel. I mean, it was a 7-month transaction for this, and it was a challenging thing. And I think the biggest challenge was just to keep my clients understanding, like, we're gonna get there. The process is moving along. We just got to keep trusting the process and keep moving forward. So that was definitely a challenge when you're dealing with all of those different hurdles in one.
Now, Nick, because both of you guys are successful, what happens is people are going to come up to you and say, hey, that sounds exciting. How do I get started in commercial real estate? Is there some advice you would give to that person?
Don't do it. Yeah, no, I love commercial real estate. It's a fantastic business, but it's also not for the faint of heart. It's a very unique business where you kind of eat what you kill. So there's a lot of patience and time that goes into this job. When I got into this, I was serving tables. I even drove Lyft for a little while to subsidize my life. That was years ago, thankfully, and I'm fully involved, paying my life this way. But it's a job that you need to have patience. And if you're willing to put in the time, put in the hours, go to the office, make the phone calls, and the biggest thing is just following up with the opportunities, their success will come. But the challenge a lot of folks have is they get into this and they see a couple big deals that potentially happen, the big dollar figures, and yeah, that's great, but they're not every day. So you got to have the patience and the wherewithal to keep going every day. Because the biggest thing that we learned, our father is a great inspiration for us, and I had a conversation. We both had this with him. Is you have a great day, something great happened, or just a terrible day, and he'll tell you the same thing. No matter what happened today, you have to get back up tomorrow and do the same thing. You got to make your calls. You got to get in front of your clients, whether it's a good day or a bad day. So keeping that even keel is a challenge sometimes, because there's a deal that'll go away sometimes. They're like, oh no. But at the end of the day, you still have the same job to do, and you have other clients that you have to take care of. So the consistency and the wherewithal to continue is very important.
So Justin, to you, somebody who wants to get started in commercial real estate, what do you tell them?
I would say, besides just saying don't do it, I would say really the thing is to really go into talking about your follow through to show up every day. That was the lesson that was taught by my brother here and my broker, is that if you follow through and show up every day, opportunity will be there. And that's a hard challenge, honestly, for folks. And I see it now as I've been doing it for 5 years. That's where it's not almost always for everybody, because you write your own schedule, but you got to show up every day if you want the opportunity. So that's what I would say. And if you get the opportunity to work with great people, just follow them around. Just soak up all that information. Just in any mentor program or any situation, if you get the opportunity to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, is going to give you the time, just show up, and just show up.
Justin, there's a lot of myths that surround commercial real estate. Is there one in particular that kind of drives you crazy?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that is I don't know where it came from, but it's a really interesting thought process and myth, is to not use a broker, especially when you're tenant repping. If you're looking for a new space for your new business, and the brokers who represent the property, they represent the landlord, they don't represent you. So in that transaction, it's amazing the deals that I'll hear about from somebody, and they'll tell me, yeah, I didn't have a broker, I didn't know any better. And reality is they didn't get a great deal because no one was fighting for them on there. And it's amazing that people do it, because if you go buy a house, you almost always will get your agent. I mean, this is almost a bigger decision because it affects your business. Using a broker to represent you throughout the process, I mean, I can't speak more to that, how important that is.
Nick, is there a myth in particular that kind of bothers you that keeps popping up?
Yeah, I think we both have the same kind of thing. We run into it quite a bit in our business from time to time. But challenge is a lot of folks that we work with are very intelligent people. They're great in their business, but they don't really necessarily know the ins and outs of every real estate transaction. What ends up happening is we get a lot of folks that, they've had their business for 20 years and they probably moved their business once or twice. They've maybe done 2 or 3, maybe up to 5 leases. Well, we did that this week. So it's those conversations to understand that especially when we're a tenant rep, we get paid typically through the transaction by the landlord. So it's almost at no cost to the client. It's usually rolled into that transaction anyways. And then in that process, you're going to learn what to negotiate. There's not always just one thing. When you go to buy a house, it's usually, how much you're going to pay for it, when you're going to close. But when you're going to go lease space, you're going to move your business, there's a lot that goes into it, and not understanding those ins and outs. I've seen it time and time again where, I look through clients, even a friend, and like, hey, we just did this lease. Sorry I didn't call you. And I look at it and I'm like, hey, buddy, this is a little rough. So, let me know when you're ready to move, because you got a bad deal here. So you got to be careful. Those pitfalls, I mean, unfortunately, landlords, they're looking out in their best interest. And if someone's not in the ring fighting for you as a tenant, you're going to find there's going to be some issues. And we've seen it time and time again. So please do yourself a favor, call a broker, MHG Commercial. We are here for you.
Justin, so I'm sure this happens to you. Folks will say, don't worry. I got this cousin. He's a realtor, and he's going to help me out. What advice would you give to that person that's ready to have their friend or their cousin who's a realtor take care of their needs?
I would highly recommend finding somebody in the commercial space. The difference between residential and commercial is night and day. It really is. Just the way we maneuver transactions, the knowledge we have about what needs to be negotiated in the transaction. Right out in the beginning, we're starting with how we find property. Most residential agents don't even have access to the same material to find the properties for their clients, let alone actually know how to negotiate it. So that's probably something to think more about.
So Nick, what about you? What advice do you give them? I say, I got it covered. My cousin, he found my house.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a challenge that we run into. Again, we work with a lot of residential agents for this reason. We say, hey, you know what? Because a lot of times a broker at the bigger places, they probably aren't as keen to sending a referral check or partnering with agents. So we have found that, hey, by encouraging that client, like, hey, you've got a great cousin, bring them in, we'll work with them. We want to make sure you get a good deal, because ultimately it's not a win for anybody if you're out there trying to find space and you don't know what to negotiate, as we kind of talked about earlier. So yeah, the residential agents are great. They're great in our network. but every now and then they don't know what they don't know. As far as I know, when it comes to residential, I'm not the guy to call to buy a house. I would happily refer that out, and that's how we kind of look at that. We encourage the residential agents to refer that out or come work with us, and we even started a training program for that process because of this, and it's been a fantastic growth now. But yes, it's definitely important to partner with an experienced agent in the commercial space, knowing those transactions. The residential agents are great, but sometimes we got to make sure we partner with them, make sure that the clients are serviced the best that we can.
Justin, so let's go back to earlier in your career. Was there some small victory that you thought, wow, this is it. This is going to change my trajectory? Does there something stand out?
I would say when I hit so I started in August of 2020, and I would say in that 2021 when I started getting like a couple closings. I remember I had a client that redeveloped an old Walgreens into a multi-tenant for his business. And, when I was able to knock that one out after 7 months of going through that whole process, I was like, I think I can do this. I think I have an opportunity to actually make a career out of this. When you spend 7 months on a transaction and you get to the end of the road and you actually get a cool paycheck out of it that, you've never seen something that big on just like a transaction. Usually I'm used to getting a couple $100 here and there when I work. So that was probably the transaction for me. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can figure it out.
Nick, was there some small win early on? You thought, wow, I can do this.
Yeah, so I actually worked locally in the restaurant industry with a good friend of mine, Charles, who owns a couple restaurants now. But we worked at Zinc Bistro in Kierland, and we were coming up as servers, and he was bartender, and we both were breaking out to do our own thing, and I was moving into real estate, new into the business, but I had a few deals under my belt, and a friend of mine, he's like, hey, I'm ready to do my own thing. And we helped him open that first location in Scottsdale. It's called Hush Public House. He's now moved on to some other projects now, Aftermath and Born and Bred here in the Valley. But yeah, when I first did that Hush deal, there was a couple of items that got a little funky at the end, and a couple attorneys even missed some stuff. So when I got through that and I said, hey, buddy, we're supposed to sign this tomorrow, but I think the attorney missed this. I'm not trying to blow this up, but it ended up being something that created a week delay. Thankfully, that was it. And, I was really psyched in that moment because, I knew we took care of our client. He's a friend. I'm glad he's working with us, but we don't want to take advantage of that relationship. And we, did a great deal for him. And ultimately, they grew that concept now. They've grown and they're doing great in that location and great landlord at that spot. So really happy for him. And yeah, that was a big one for me. That not necessarily paycheck wise, but opportunity to say, yeah, this is a world I can definitely handle. I can handle the conversations. I know what I'm doing. And, we're good, and we're here 8 years later.
Well, Nick, in that situation you just described, high-stakes situation, commercial real estate, could deal in millions of dollars, lots of moving parts, lots of people involved, could be a lot of stress. How do you handle that? How do you stay even-keeled with that?
Whiskey. Yeah. We actually, what I would say is something I learned, I think I mentioned earlier, something our dad talked about, so our father grew up in sales for years. He runs his own business now. He's very successful. So we're very fortunate to have someone to talk to on just the ins and outs of this business and just the up and downs of the sales lifestyle. And the big thing is learning that the next day you still have to do the same thing. So we definitely understand that, there are good days and bad days, and remembering that throughout the process will help to continue on to be successful, because you're going to have great days, you're going to have great weeks, you're going to have great months, and then you're going to have bad months. And that's just the nature of this business. So we've kind of learned through, a little bit of education on our own part, but there's going to be an opportunity where that deal that goes away that you were really counting on, when you don't realize it, there's something else down the road if you just stay the course and just be patient. But yeah, we've definitely learned to be a little more patient with things and understanding the longevity of our business. In residential, it's a very short transaction. If you and I meet and you're ready to buy a house, we're probably going to get that done in 3 months. If you and I meet and you're ready to move your business, it might be a year commitment. So understanding that this is a long-term commitment and just stay the process is very important.
So, Justin, do you have any tricks you have to do to kind of stay level-headed in the high-stakes game?
I would say beyond having a whiskey around the office every evening or so, it was probably more about having learned, seeing a couple of those losses of a transaction, and just remind yourself, if a transaction didn't go through, it was probably still best for the client to move on to the next thing because there was something that didn't pencil for them. And that was probably the biggest thing, is to take my emotions out of it. And this is a business, and it's a business decision for the client. And if the client isn't able to pencil this project, well, clearly there's no reason to try to talk them into it. I'm not here to talk anybody into a business decision that could be so detrimental. So if it doesn't pencil, like if we've problem solved every angle of a project together and we just can't make it work, that I've done all we can, and we can just move on. And that's been probably the biggest lesson on these transactions, is to not let them hit you hard when they don't go through, because inevitably there'll be something else that'll come along for that client. There's been clients that pulled away from transactions for 1 or 2 years, and they've come back, and I'm working with them again. So all things will come around. It's a long game in our business anyways.
Very much a long game.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a long game.
Excuse me. Is MHG Commercial bringing on new team members?
Yes. So this last year, MHG, we made some interesting changes. I became a partner at MHG Commercial. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And through that process, we've started some growth, and we bought our own office now. We're in Tempe. Excuse me. So we're now in Tempe, and yes, we're bringing on brokers. We've got desks to fill. We're definitely looking for brokers that, if they want to specialize in something specific, or if in general they want to leave the corporate mentality of some of the bigger houses, you have a little more freedom to do what you want. Yes, please come to MHG Commercial, give us a call. Let's see if it's something that might make sense, because we are a little more of the dark horses of the real estate here in the Valley, as we like to say.
Justin, do you have any advice for those potential team members that want to join your team?
I would say just give us a chance. I think the kind of environment that we try to have in our office, and the culture of MHG Commercial is something I think that really can translate to a lot of folks. It's not a corporate world. We are pretty casual, but we're here to work. So I think that would be, if people want to give us a chance and show up and just see how we operate, I think they're going to find that they're going to have a lot of great success working with us.
Nick, what are your goals for the year?
Well, this year, as I said, with now's the partnership, is to see our team grow initially. I'm always going to be deal driven, to have some goals to, hit some benchmarks as far as our income and, how many deals we can do as an individual. But now it's interesting this year, as I shift into a partnership role, is now I'm like cheering you guys on now a lot too. So I'm really excited to see and bring on new brokers. Additionally, as seeing our team's success, because this year we've got a couple of guys that, my brother here included, is doing great stuff, and we've got some guys in the West Valley. Our team's growing very, leaps and bounds. So I'm really excited this year. So my goals really this year are more focused on, the team growth and seeing the success of the agents on our team, because we've got a lot of great talent, and I'm really excited to see how that's flourishing and growing. And then, hopefully we're going to bring on some other folks that really see the culture and want to encourage that as well.
Justin, leasing commercial, leasing residential, could you give me an overview of some of the differences there?
I would say for leasing in the commercial versus residential space, it's a very big difference in how they're going to view the possible tenant. The landlord's going to look at the tenants on a residential transaction. Maybe they want to look at it like a tax return, something of that nature, bank statements. In the commercial space, it's like buying a house. They're going to want tax returns. They're going to want P&Ls, their balance statement, personal financial statements, depending on your history of the business. They're going to really peel through. And if you're a new business, they're going to want a business plan too. And a lot of folks are not aware that they're going to want to be this prepared. But that goes into why you work with us, because we're going to prepare you up front. We're not going to get you in front of a project without prepping you to be ready for when we find that right project. So they definitely got a lot of homework to do up front, and that's the biggest difference.
Nick, when you talk to your team members, how do you get them ready to handle a deal big deal, but it falls apart late in the process? How do you help them through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're pretty collaborative. We encourage, in real estate, you're very nomadic because you're on the road a lot. A lot of folks use Starbucks. But one of the things that we encourage a lot of folks to do when they can is be in the office. And through that, I think we cultivate an open dialogue so that there's an opportunity to coach people at a very consistent basis. Just the more you're able to be around, we can help work through problems and troubleshoot scenarios. The biggest thing is just being available to have the conversations. I'm fortunate that I'm busy enough where sometimes I'm not able to pick up the phone, But, if you're able to be in front of me in the office, it's an opportunity where I can just say, let's go walk through this lease. Let's talk about the scenarios. So, a collaborative environment we've kind of created where, come through, let's just work it out. Maybe there's an opportunity here. I always say, give us a shot on the deal. A lot of folks don't understand that in commercial real estate, there's a lot of things that we can negotiate. So sometimes a client might not get the lease rate they're looking for, but maybe we can offset that with some other items in the deal. So that's sometimes an opportunity that even an experienced agent might not see. So if we're having the opportunity to sit down and talk it out, I find that we can maybe find an opportunity that maybe that wasn't aware of initially. And sometimes it isn't. Say, hey, you know what, maybe let's walk away. Let's find something else. And just understanding that and just working through it with them is really important.
Justin, is there maybe a deal you're working on now, the big deal that you could share some details about that project?
Well, we did just recently. I'm waiting to be able to announce. We have one of our clients is a local barbecue company, Caldwell Barbecue. We just got them their first location in the Scottsdale area. Still waiting to announce the official location, but that is a done deal. So it's a pretty exciting thing to see this group because they started out with a little spot, so to say, in the Southeast Valley, and now they have a location down in Queen Creek. Then they're out in Peoria, and soon Scottsdale. So they're growing fast, and it's a really exciting time because we've been really working hard for a year trying to find that new Scottsdale location to bring their brand up north, so to say, from the Southeast Valley. And I can't wait to announce the exact location, but it's coming next year to 2026.
So I know that we talked about this a moment ago. I want to touch on it again, Nick, that you've recently started a training program for new agents. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're at MHG Commercial always looking for opportunities that are a little different than the traditional mold, working in the commercial space. So we started working with a lot of residential agents, and our team can only take on so many folks. There's some costs that come into it. So we're typically bringing on more experienced agents that have the ability to handle a little more transactions without a lot of hands-on. But through that, we also decided we should create a program to help nurture the folks that want to learn more. So we started what's called My CRE. It's a great program, and you do not have to be at our brokerage at My Home Group. You can be at a Keller Williams. You could be a residential agent at HomeSmart. If you're interested in learning about commercial real estate, the My CRE program is fantastic. We've now had our first full year of it. We've had a successful year. I think we've actually brought on 4 folks from that program that really shined, and they're now on our team full time. We've also done quite a few deals the last year, partnering through that process. For us, the My CRE program is an education. It's very unique. It doesn't really exist in commercial. It's a actual education program. We have classes scheduled. In addition to the classes, we actually partner you with a mentor that's an experienced commercial broker. And through that process, you will work on deals together, do the classes, and at the end of it, hopefully you've found a space maybe in commercial, or just say, hey, you know what, that's another quiver in my hat that I can do some commercial space if you're not looking to make the jump full time.
Now, I know both of you gentlemen are big on mentorship. We'll start with you, Justin. Is there one piece of advice that you have a tendency to give over and over as a mentor?
I think I may have kind of mentioned this with the mentoring thing. For me, I've learned to just coach people to just keep asking questions. There's no stupid question. There's so much information out there. So with my folks, I encourage them. I've had one of my mentees at one point would call me first call of the day, every day. He had something, and it was great. And he would say, am I bugging you too much? No, because you don't know what you're doing yet, and that's okay. I'm here to teach you and help you learn to be better. And then the other thing also is just to remind folks that it takes time, and just keep showing up every day. It will come if you just keep showing up and putting in the effort.
Nick, your favorite part about mentorship?
I would say just seeing the growth. My brother was kind of my guinea pig. He and I have worked closely in our entire lives, of course, but he and I had gone different paths in business, and I had gotten into real estate. He was in California, and we weren't really bringing people on, but COVID happened, and he was kind of hanging out at my house and said, hey man, get your real estate license, and we've got some business that we could send your way. So he got his license and just was a sponge. He just sat in the corner, learned, and now he's one of our top producers. So it's a fantastic thing to see the guys that really take the notes, and he's not the only one. We've had great success with seeing a lot of guys now come on, and a lot of guys and gals, and we've grown fantastically, and just seeing folks just have success and make some really life changes is pretty exciting.
So, Justin, what about the future excites you right now?
Well, I think I'm excited to see this team grow. When I joined with this team, it was basically my brother and our broker in an office the size of a closet. I mean, I sat in there
Yeah.
with a little chair in the corner, and they had 2 desks and a chair in the corner, and I just
was
sat there
very
with my
cold.
laptop, just listening and just trying to understand what was going on. And now, we own an office building down in Tempe now. I don't know, we have 15, 20 folks on the team now at
Yeah.
least. I think that first year when I joined you guys, you did maybe like 25 million. I mean, I think we're easily going to eclipse 100 this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that growth of the business is so exciting because it's not just me. I get excited to see other folks on on the team that, I wasn't working on a transaction, but they're growing too. And so I think it's exciting to see MHG Commercial grow in the Valley as a recognized brand. People know who we are. They know when we bring something to the table, we're a real team of people that know what we're doing. So that's really exciting. I really enjoy that.
Nick, what about you? What's exciting you about the future?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see more growth. We've been bringing on some great folks that are hungry. I'm very excited to see our West Valley team. Our West Valley team this year planted the flagship out there, and our West Valley is doing great. So we're really excited about the growth of the West Valley. So we're just really excited to see kind of more brokers kind of come in, watch our training program, maybe produce some other rock stars, which we've seen so far as well.
Yeah, do you want something to add, Justin?
Well, I was going to say, Nick, you and the leadership also just started doing property management as well, which is new.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point.
Well, tell us about the property management that you're getting into.
Yeah. So we found through our, transactions, a lot of clients, they buy a new property or buy an investment, and, they're looking now to have somebody help manage the day to day. And we always farm that out. We found a lot of great partners in the Valley, but we found that, I think this is an opportunity that we could provide another level of service for our clients. So this last year, we've now brought in property management. Property management is up and running. So if anybody's got properties here in the Valley, we want to be here to help out. And that way you have another level of service that MHG Commercial can be in part of. Because the one challenge that we do have in our space is a lot of times a transaction is done. We'll touch base from here and there, but the property managers are going to be your day-to-day. We have clients that, they forget, and that's part of the business. So if you have the property management aspect, we can be a little more of a next level of service.
Okay, it's time to play a little rapid fire.
Okay,
Yes.
let's do it.
So the answer to this question for either of you is to either say me or him.
No.
So your only answer is me or him, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Who was born first?
Me.
Who's the better dancer?
Me.
Okay. I'll give you him.
Who's the better cook?
Me.
Him.
Better at video games?
Oh, that's me, probably. Yeah.
Who's funnier?
Oh, me.
Him.
Yeah.
Who's a better singer?
Oh, him.
Me.
Yeah. He crushed the journey.
Who's better at keeping a secret?
Him.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Who's the better athlete?
Me.
Him.
Who's more logical?
Me.
Him.
Who's the better driver?
Oh,
Me.
yeah, me. Okay. Him. I'll give it to you, but I don't know.
Who's better at picking out gifts?
Oh, me.
Which one of you cries at movies?
Oh, me.
Oh, yeah.
Who's better at staying calm in a crisis?
Oh, me.
Okay, you guys, what's the best way for somebody to contact you if they want to find out more information?
MHGcommercial.com. Hit our website. It's got all the information you need from us. It's got all our contact info. And then you can either connect with our MyCRE training program, property management, or if you're interested in becoming a broker, please come to the website. You'll find all our information. My contact information's on there. My brother's contact information's on there. And then you'll find us, and we'll be happy to see what we can do.
Excellent. Nick Skogen, Justin Skogen, thank you very much for being on the SWN Spotlight Show. And we really appreciate it because you can do a lot with your time and you chose to spend it with us three. That means a lot. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.